Hi, I am Sarah Rodman, the television editor here at the Los Angeles Times. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I am so excited to be joined by our guest today, Miss Connie Britton. You know her from The Brothers McMullen, from Spin City, from Friday Night Lights, and most recently, and sadly, lately, of Nashville. I feel like we should have brought tissues out for this one.
No.
It was an ugly cry, girl, when Raina James went.
It was for all of us, yes.
God,
that was an
why?
ugly cry.
Why a permanent solution? Why
Why a
not
permanent solution?
Why not a good old-fashioned soapy coma?
I know. Trust me. I literally said to them, like, does she have to die? I was really like, does it have to be this? But we thought about it, and it's like, Raina would never leave her family.
Right, of
ever.
course.
So.
But a coma? They could have all gone their own way. You could have woken up.
Unfortunately, we already wasted the coma
That's true.
early on in the series, you may recall. We'd already had one coma.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And how many comas can you have? But
Yeah.
now I'm like rooting around for like Raina's evil twin.
It's possible.
I mean,
you know, it's Nashville.
exactly. Anything could happen.
Anything could happen. There could be an evil twin.
But I will say, I mean, those last few episodes, first you had to deal with the stalker.
Yeah.
And that actor was excellent. I thought he was really
so
good.
amazing. And you know, I just have to say that it was really cool to be able to act that, because it was a very long it was a very long, drawn-out scene, particularly for television, and just a very strong dynamic between two characters, and the kind of thing that you see more in theater. And so it was really fun to have the opportunity to do that, and to do it with such a wonderful actor was really a joy.
And it was so well written too. But then, of course, then you were stalked. You survived your stalker.
I know.
And then you're smashed into in the police car. Like, why aren't they driving more carefully?
I know, really? Why aren't they driving more carefully? Like, oops! And of course, they came out unscathed. The police people were fine.
Yes, of course.
But Raina really bit it.
And in a way that, I mean, God bless Callie Corey, but then you were fine. It was great. And that one woman doctor who was also taking care of Juliet, because there's only one doctor in Nashville.
Right. And, everybody just happens to be in the hospital. Also, by the way, let's just point out, all of this happened within, I think, less than a 48-hour period.
Yes.
Yeah, it was pretty
Nashville
truncated.
is happening.
Well, things move at a fast clip in Nashville.
Clearly,
Yes.
and on Nashville.
Yes.
But I will say, seriously though, one great thing about Raina's farewell is that it gave the entire cast an opportunity to be together, which is something that actually doesn't happen that often on the show. That everybody sort of was in the hospital room, got to say their goodbye, which was probably nice as a cast.
It was really. It was really, wonderful for all of us to have that opportunity, and I agree. It didn't ever happen enough, and I kind of wished it did, because the thing is with Nashville is all of people. It is really a small town. I mean, you and I were just talking about, you mentioned one person who's living there, and I'm like, wait, they're living there? I didn't know that. How did I not know that? Because I feel like I know everybody in town. So the lives really do overlap, and so. I wish we had seen more of that, but it was so nice to have that in the end, and it was really very moving for all of us.
No, I'm sure it was very emotional, and I kept thinking, because you ended up being in that hospital bed for a lot of the last episode, if there was any sort of like ice breaking, if there was any, or was it just all tears all the time?
Well, it depends. No, it wasn't all tears all the time, because it actually took us quite a while to shoot that whole episode. So there was a lot of laughter, particularly when Raina is wheeled in and she's just had the accident, and they did such an amazing job with the makeup, and I'm just blood everywhere and all of the things, and it was very well thought out. But then we had our DP, Michael Lohman, who was kind of our just a jack of all trades, and he ends up, in order to shoot it, literally sitting on top of me on the gurney, and I'm like, this is so awkward, but I'm just gonna go with it,
I'm dying, so I'm supposed to be
There was
uncomfortable.
a lot of comedy in that, and there were, we got to enjoy those last moments, and then you know, when things turned and we saw that Raina was really moving in a direction that was, you know, sort of not to be where she wasn't going to come back, and there were a lot of tears, and then it got really, really, really tough, and it was tough on the crew and the I mean, everybody, even the crew was having a hard time. And
so it seems to me that part of that, one of the weird things about this business is when people do leave a show or their character passes away on a show, that for the other actors, it's actually pretty real in terms of the performance that they're giving, because they're upset that you're leaving. I mean, Lennon and Maisie and Chip had such beautiful moments in that last episode.
Yeah, no, it was really, we were all crying for a lot of days, and it was, you know, we're a family, and it felt, you know, it's that interesting art imitating life, imitating art, where, you know, we were feeling the sort of shift in what that family, our real family unit was going to be, but then also on top of that, we are these characters, and you know, the idea of two young daughters and then this man who's loved this woman his whole life and is finally with her, for them to lose this person in their lives is just, it's just a devastating, it's a devastating story to tell.
Thinking about it again, but it did give you the opportunity, oh so briefly, to work with your friend Carla Gugino.
Yes.
Who showed up for a split second as mom.
I know.
And she had not been there before previously,
right?
No,
No, she hadn't, and she really, she jumped in at the last minute, and it was so special to have her there. That was actually the last scene that we shot.
Oh, wow.
And you know, Raina's mother was such an important person in her life throughout, and we established that throughout the series. And so it was really important that that scene and that character, you know, it had to have the gravitas and all of those things that Raina had been talking about for all those years. And then of course Carla and I are so close, so it was really, it felt very special to be able to have that, and I loved that scene so much. It was just a short little moment, but it really felt like, you know, for me as an actor doing that final episode, it was the moment where you got to see Raina addressing the crossover, you know,
right.
and it was kind of the only moment that we got to do that, because, you know, it all happened so suddenly.
Right.
And actually there's the scene where she's in the ICU and Deacon comes in and she says, "What's happening to me?" And he said, I don't remember exactly what he says, but there was a line there, which was a line that Callie Corey, that her mother actually said to her on her deathbed. And when she told me about that, I said, we have to have Raina say the line. And the line was, "I feel like I'm leaving you." And they cut the line out.
I feel like the last words that you actually said were, "I'm sorry."
I don't even remember, but to me, I was so disappointed that line ended up getting cut, because it was the only moment where we had any sense that Raina knew what was happening to her.
Yeah.
So in the end, she was ultimately made a victim, because she's just like, "What happened?" and take care of everything, and I'm sorry, but it wasn't, you know, it just felt to me like, again, it was a moment of
Raina's last moment of agency.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sorry to hear that too, and I, of course, was so sorry to hear about Powers Booth, who played your father on the show. And I mean, his character was in jail right at the end, so he wouldn't have been visiting anyway.
Poor Powers really he had to go through it as well, you know, as many of our characters do in Nashville.
But he was so great on the show.
He was amazing. So incredible in that role. He brought such dignity to the role, and complexity to a role that really could have just been.
Exactly.
And he fought it, you know, he really felt that, you know, he you know, that it was so frequently really written as the villain, and he did not want it just to be.
He didn't want to just twirl his mustache.
You know, especially because he is the father of this character of Raina, and they have a complicated relationship, and so, he really wanted to give it some dimension, and I feel like he did that so successfully, and off camera, of course, was just beyond a mensch, and
Never not the villain that he so often played.
No, just really awesome human, and I always felt just thrilled whenever I got to be in the same space with him.
So talented. So we have some questions from the audience out in the world, and one of them, Nathan on Twitter, would like to know. Hi, Nathan.
Hi, Nathan.
What's your best memory on the set of Nashville?
What's my best memory on the set of Nashville? That's always a hard question because there are so many great memories. I mean, so many. But so I always sort of answer it in a little bit of a general way, because I would say in general, when I think back on the show, my best memories are probably, I mean, look, there was so much joking around and fun on the show, so that was always great. But my best memories were probably being on stage, and doing those performance pieces, which were the most challenging, but also the most rewarding and really exciting to be able to live. I mean, for me as an actor, to be able to live in that world for 5 years and to play this character who's going up on stage and singing these songs.
Right.
And
that was something that, at least at the beginning, I remember talking to you, that you were the most nervous about.
Correct, and I was until the last day. Those were still the most. I became less nervous, but it was. I mean, I'll look back and be so grateful that I had the opportunity to do that, because, as a human, it's really great to be able to face a challenge and to walk up the hill of that, and you start to feel more comfortable and start to learn and start to improve, and
not just to be a country singer, but to be one of the most popular country singers of all time.
And to really be able to carry that, and to be a star of that level, and to be able to carry the music and all the rest of it. So,
but you never got in on, you never made a record, you never joined in on the touring that a lot of the other cast was involved in. So that aspect of it wasn't something that you personally, as Connie Britton, wanted to take part in?
Well, it wasn't. I mean, first of all, I have a lot of fear of performing live, which I still have, but I really want to continue to address that and challenge myself as far as that goes. And I do hope to, as time goes on, to, perform live in certain circumstances, and to, who knows, maybe I'll record something later on down the line. But, I did a couple. Chip was my biggest cheerleader, and he had a very great way of being able to convince me, and through his support and ever-present enthusiasm. It's like, you can do this. We'll do it together. It's going to be amazing. So we did do a couple of charity things together, but those tours that they did, and he was like, just show up in LA and like come on stage. The crowd will go crazy. And I actually would have loved to have done it. But the tours were pretty arduous for them. And it's just the timing kind of never worked out, because we shot 10 months out of the year. It was a very ambitious schedule.
Right.
I have a now 6-year-old son, and so when we would finish our season, I was always wanting to take a little bit of time with my son, and then I also was shooting movies during all the hiatuses.
Right, exactly. You're too busy.
So it didn't work out, but I was also kind of scared.
Well, this reminds me of a question I just saw, because there were so many Raina songs. Helen, hello, Helen.
Hi, Helen.
On Facebook would like to know, what's your favorite Raina song? She had some good songs.
Oh, she had some amazing songs. My gosh.
And the songwriters for that show.
Oh.
I mean, as important almost as the actual writers.
Oh, 100%. And by the way, the songwriters on Nashville are real top Nashville songwriters. I mean, so that to me was something that I have always cherished about the show, because those songs are so authentic and so authentic to that world. And you know, I got to know several of the songwriters, so anyway, you know, I've just always felt so honored to have been able to.
I love the duets, the ones you did with Will and
Yeah.
Shep. Those were some of the best Rihanna
Well,
songs.
I love the duets too. It's hard to choose. It's so funny. My son loves the song "The Wrong Song," which was a duet I did with Juliet, like in the beginning.
Yes.
And he, for some reason, we stopped listening to it for a while, and then just recently, he's been way into it, and he's like, every single time we get in the car, he's like, "Mom, play The Wrong Song." I'm like, okay.
I'm not sure that's
And
appropriate.
so yes, but I know. But although it says this one's about the lyrics are this one's about a liar and a cheater, but I think he thinks this one's about a lion and a cheetah. So
all right.
I'm okay with that.
So you've completely, it's like a safari
I'm
song.
fine with that. What? What? That's all right.
At all.
But there are so many beautiful ones. There's one that I loved, "Stronger Than Me," that was really beautiful. That was, I think, in the first season. But yeah, I also loved a lot of the duets. And, you know, I also loved the song "Life That's Good," which wasn't technically a Raina song, but Raina sang it with her family. And then, of course, that was a song that they sang on her deathbed, which
we're going back
we
there.
couldn't get through. You know, nobody
so
could get
good.
through it.
Yeah,
It's a
those
beautiful
girls
song.
are so great. And so the show comes back tonight. So will you be watching, or will that be too painful for you? Will you be watching as it goes on now that you're no longer on it?
I will probably not be. I didn't even realize it was coming back on tonight, but I will. I probably won't. I have to say I don't get to watch the show all the time. So and tonight I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to watch it because I have other things that I have to be doing. But I will probably watch it at some point because I'll be.
So you will try and
curious
keep
and
up.
Supportive, yes. Yeah.
It's going to be different without you. Now, I can't let you go before we talk briefly about Tammy Taylor.
Tammy Taylor.
Mrs. Coach, because so many people loved you as Mrs. Coach. And to be able to have these roles back to back, essentially, that these strong, smart, independent, flawed women in these complicated but interesting relationships. I mean, when you think about them, do you think that they're similar? Do you think they would like each other? I feel like they love each other.
Oh yeah, I think that they would like each other. They're both really cool women. I don't know that their paths would ever cross. I wonder if Tammy's a country music fan.
It seems like she should be.
It seems like maybe she would be.
Of the good stuff.
But yeah, the good stuff. I think she would probably like the good
Classics.
stuff. Like maybe she'd be sort of like, oh yeah, I like old school Raina James. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe that's
Raina
what
James
she-
from the 90s
Yeah,
only.
yeah, exactly. I think that she'd go with that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's been such a good run. And then also American Horror Story in
Yes.
there. The People v. O.J. Simpson.
Ugh, so fun.
Speaking of those two shows, so you've now done two things with Ryan, and I feel like that's the number where you are obligated to do things with him for the rest of your career now.
Right.
So would you imagine working with him again?
Oh, absolutely. I you know, it never feels like an obligation with him. It always feels like just an amazing opportunity. So I would love to. And
Ooh, and that reminds me, that was a question on Twitter too. AHS, good
Yeah.
Twitter handle, wants to know, will we actually see you in American Horror Story again? Would you go back to that series
I would.
specifically?
If Ryan had I feel very grateful and beholden to Ryan. You know, when I finished Friday Night Lights, I was a little like, what do I do now? I really loved that show. I really loved the character of Tammy, and I didn't know where to go from there. And Ryan kind of came along, and he's like, I have this idea, I have this great idea, and you're going to be doing something that every single thing you'll be doing, and this character will be in a completely different world from the one you've just come from. And I was like, well, that sounds like exactly that's the medicine that I need right now. So I always feel grateful to him for that, and I love working with him. So I would do American Horror Story or whatever else came along.
Maybe if a good feud came along.
A good feud I love a good feud.
Right,
That
we-
would be really fun.
We need to cook something up
Yeah,
there because I feel like that would be, but that group of people that he works with, I mean, those are people, Angela
best.
Bassett, Kathy Bates, Jessica Lange, these are people that you want to work with.
Right. And it was wonderful to be able to work with Jessica Lange in season 1. of American Horror Story. I mean, that was, and and that was a big leap for her too. But what was so smart, which Ryan really kind of created in that first season, is it was the limited series.
Right.
So Jessica didn't have to sign on for more than 1 year. So many times people don't want to have to sign away 6 or 7 years of their lives, and so. Jessica and me too. We were, it was like, okay, we're going to do it for a season, and then.
But then, ironically, she's gone on to do
isn't
one
that
every
amazing?
year.
But isn't it funny how if you make it a good experience without holding people to it so tightly,
right?
They want to do it anyway. So it's a smart business model.
So I would imagine that when people approach you, because you now have this body of work behind you, and we were just talking about Spin City and how much we enjoyed Spin City and how different, I mean, the change from Spin City to American Horror Story, the range there, that when people come up to you on the street, is it sort of automatically Mrs. Coach, or is it everything when they recognize you on the street?
Yeah, it's pretty. It's really varied. I mean, every once in a while, people will be like, "I loved you in Spin City." I'm like, "What? That was a million years ago. I love it."
Early Connie Britton.
I know, right? Exactly. Like, I don't even remember
the old stuff.
But then a lot of Raina, obviously, a lot of Mrs. Coach, or Tammy. And then, American Horror Story, too. And that always surprises me, because people come up and they're like, were you in American Horror Story? And I was like, yes, that was one little season, but I'm
it was
glad
the beginning.
That you, but yeah, and people love that show. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. And I love that you've been on all these shows that have these really distinct, super rabid fan bases, like all of those. I mean, I don't know, I think the Nashies might be the most fervent. I mean, they got the show brought to CMT.
No,
essentially.
I will say, I think one of the greatest rewards and honors as an actor is to feel that you are making an impact into your audience's life, and to have fans as passionate as these fans have been, the Nashville fans have been, is just, it's just humbling and incredibly flattering. But also, I really always feel like it's about them. We are in service to them, and so it just always feels like a really great gift. And Friday Night Lights fans are also incredibly rabid, and certainly were after the show ended. And actually, they kept the show on the air on Friday Night Lights too, if you recall.
Moved to DirecTV.
NBC was really, it was on the chopping block, and then DirecTV. So I've actually had that experience now twice, and so I really feel just the incredible sense of appreciation for that, because and honestly, that's what you want. You want to make television. When we're making television or film, you want to have your audience feel as if they are getting to know someone, as if they are seeing a little piece of themselves or a little piece of life that is so relatable to them that it feels like something that they want to include in their world. So it's a great honor.
Right, to the point that they go out and buy tickets and want to include it in their world outside of their living room, which is so fantastic, to go that extra mile. Now, you've done, basic cable, you've done broadcast, you've done DirecTV, so you've done the little episode order, you've done the 24 episode order. So if you come back to television, do you have a preference for the way you'd like to come back?
Shorter seasons. I mean, first of all, it is a long season. A 22 or 24 episode season is a very, it's an exhausting season. But I think most importantly, and why I really believe in the shorter season model, like a 10 season or 12 season or 13 season arc, is because I think that you actually can write better story. I think that it's a lot easier to really delve in and let your stories have levels and dimension when you aren't trying to fill up just
Right, no
hour after
filler
hour after hour.
episodes.
You know, to some degree, it starts feeling a little bit like a factory. And when you have a 10-season arc or a 12-season arc, you can really give the whole season a shape and really let the characters have. It's kind of a great cross. Because in film, what's nice about film is that it's very finite beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
And you get all of the reward of that, but at the same time, to be able to do that but have the sustainability of a character on television. I mean, that's what I've always loved about working in TV. I love working in TV because you really get to let your characters live. They really have a life, and if you're fortunate enough to have a series that goes on for more than one season, I mean, of course, I like to say that with American Horror Story because I'm like, or in American Horror Story's case, you become a ghost and then you have a life.
Right, exactly.
But
you're still hanging around.
You're still hanging around. You're fine. I'm dead. I'm good.
You could do this on Nashville. You can come back to haunt them.
I know. Trust me. Oh my gosh, you don't understand.
Looking for a way.
I actually talk to Chip quite frequently, and a lot of those ideas come up. Yeah.
But it is. I mean, they're not a lot. It's a small group of people that have. I mean, you've now had 4 successful television shows and had very distinct characters, and that's a little group that you belong to.
Yeah.
That can say that. And so I'm imagining that choosing the next thing is difficult.
Well, I think for me, what I've learned a lot in the course of all of this about what really matters to me and what's important and what I want to be doing, and so I think that I'm going to shape it in a way that feels like it's representative of everything I've done so far, but I think for me, what comes next is something that I would like to be on the creative level from the beginning, and so that's kind of what's happening now. And
so you're in the process of crafting something.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a few things that I've been working on. Some of them for several years, and some of them more recently. But I really love that process, and. It's funny, people are always saying, you gotta direct, you gotta direct, you gotta direct. And I know I do, because we need women directors.
Yes.
We need that perspective. But I don't yet, not yet at least, I haven't had a strong pull to direct. But I have a very strong pull to produce, and I love writing. I like writing in collaboration.
Right.
So I think right now that's a little bit more, and then also ultimately, of course, performing as well. But
yeah. But here's the thing. If you create something that you love that, turns you on, maybe you'll be like, now I'm ready to direct this.
I think so.
Because
I hope so.
it has you in it. So
Yeah.
Where will people actually be able to see you next, though?
Oh,
or
we don't know yet.
we don't know yet.
No, it's a mystery.
All right, it's a mystery. All right, well, before we let you go, we are going to ask you our lightning round questions. These are 5 questions we ask very quickly, and you just answer as quickly as possible.
Oh, good Lord.
Without thinking too much about it. It's super easy. Don't worry about it.
I'm good at not thinking. Tell me everything.
I don't believe that. All right. What was the last show you binge watched?
Better Things.
Oh, did you love it?
Trust me. Watch it.
Better Things. Do it. You're absolutely right. I agree. What show that you love so much would you like to watch somebody else watch for the first time? Like experience their joy of seeing something for the first time.
West Wing? Right.
I also like that you picked a show that you were on.
I know, but I can say it because I don't take responsibility for West Wing. West Wing was not great because of me. Trust me.
But it was a fun part though.
It was a great part. It was a lot of fun.
And that show.
I bet that show. I mean, that show was very important.
I want that show back now.
I know, boy.
But they need to stop remaking shows, so I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, I know.
If you could go back and be on any classic show, like from back in the day, what show would you like to have been on?
Oh gosh, there were so many.
The first one that comes to mind.
That Girl.
I never said that. That's a good
Right?
one.
Wouldn't that be so fun?
The Clothes.
Fabulous. The Clothes.
God.
Don Hollinger. Is that his name?
Donald.
Donald.
Yes. No, that's a good one. And I feel like somewhere Marlo Thomas would appreciate that.
Oh, I love Marlo.
Walter White or Tony Soprano?
Tony Soprano. Well, I don't know. You know what? This is a really embarrassing confession.
Uh-oh. You haven't seen Breaking Bad.
I'm too much of a baby. I'm sorry.
Wait, you watched The
Judge me, don't judge-
Sopranos, but you couldn't watch Breaking Bad?
Right. I don't know. For some reason, Breaking Bad to me just like dark.
It's
And
so good though.
I know. Okay, now maybe I have a little bit more time. I've also been like really busy. It's very hard for me to watch TV. And Sopranos was a little bit before like things got super crazy, like when I had a kid and stuff. But yes, I'm gonna watch Breaking Bad.
All right,
so.
that is your assignment today. And then finally, do you remember what your first acting job was? And is there anything that you learned on that job that you're still using?
My first acting job,
Like
as in
professional.
where I got paid money.
Right, not like the High School Musical, where I remember there's blurry footage of that somewhere out in the world,
Yes,
right?
and there is, yeah. Well, I did murder mysteries in New York City, which meant that we traveled around to different areas and like infiltrated dinners and, you know, Elk Lodge things. But then suddenly it's a murder mystery. And so I'm sitting there, you know, you're sitting there talking to the people and it's, you know, eating buffet food. And then suddenly I just start frothing at the mouth and fall out of my chair.
It's tremendous. I love
That
this.
was really important. I learned so much from that experience, primarily how to try to be as realistic as possible when you're dying.
So
Because
that
you had
job
to, like,
helped you.
Yeah, that job really helped me. It's like, you know, you had to be 100% believable in this group of people.
So you would just be like sitting at an 8-top round table, like,
Yeah, but
I
mean,
wonder
it
when the
was
show's
usually
going to
a big-
start.
Yeah, it's like,
And-
what's this murder mystery thing? And then the hardest part was, because in order to be frothing at the mouth, you had like a little like film. Remember days when we had film
right,
containers?
like little canisters.
And it had these like white, Lord only knows what it was. It was these little like white pellets in it. Somehow, sitting at the dinner table, had to subtly get these white pellets into my mouth, and then it would just start frothing. And then I would be like, and then fall over.
So wait, you were the victim, so then did you not get to be in the rest of the play for dinner?
Correct. And you make a very important point, because in these murder mysteries, the women were always the victims.
Oh, boo.
Boo hiss, boo hiss.
But now I wonder if anybody ever comes up to you and be like, did you die next to me once in New York, in the Catskills? I was eating dinner.
Probably. Oh yeah. I mean, I had some people who were mad. I mean, there was one that was like at a synagogue, and it was a matchmaking thing. And so I was talking to this lovely guy forever, and you know, he was like, I found my next wife. And then I started frothing at the mouth and died. And he came up to me after. He's like, "So, can we still go out sometime?" I was like, "I'm so sorry. I'm in a relationship."
Just acting.
Yeah.
But it's nice that he wasn't traumatized. Did he still like?
He might have been traumatized.
Yes. If
Yeah.
he's watching, we're really sorry.
But I will say that the when I could upgrade after I did the frothing at the mouth for a while, and you could upgrade. I then got to be stabbed in the back, and that was like way better. Yeah. So what I was like all the time I was frothing at the mouth. I was working towards being stabbed in the back, because that was
just moving up
just
that
moving
ladder.
up that ladder.
Victimhood. Wow.
Gotta
but
start somewhere.
Exactly. I think that we need to go back to them and like, let's make the women.
No, I wonder.
Who did
I
it?
wonder. Maybe they've changed it up. This was in the 90s.
All right, excellent. I love that this was your first job, and I love so much that you joined us today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for being here, and
thank
stay
you.
tuned. We will be talking to Anthony Anderson later this afternoon.
Anthony Anderson.